Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show of Quicktalk here. So this time around, I'm just going to talk about one small issue in a short time period. I just realized some few of content creators or just some other players have some issues with the attack limit in New Genesis. Okay, let me become the devil's advocate once more for attack limit in the game. Okay, attack limit. The attack limit is actually set in a game, and it actually kind of, disrupts our feeling of the gameplay because if attack limits exist, that means you can really hit a certain threshold of damage in comparison to what you are supposed to output with your weapon. So, for example, let me just give you this very simple outlook then. For example, a Kaiser weapon, they can actually hit 300 damage. But if you were to, try to use this Kaiser weapon on a low level boss or an enemy, the damage of this Kaiser weapon unfortunately is going to just hit around 100 damage. And partnering with the fact that the weapon potential for the Kaiser weapons, which is of course, the strongest weapon currently that everybody is able to access to, is just 17% potential. And it's not really the highest in comparison to certain, 6-star weapons, especially with that 50% variance. The only reason why Kaiser or Kaiseram weapons actually win out against the 6-star weapons is because they have 200 extra weapon attack potency. That's why they actually are able to win, because they have such a high number of potency amount. So, I mean, the problem there then lies in between. Like, why can't I use this Kaiser or Kaiser weapon or Kaiseram weapon to one-shot everything underneath level 40? Well, you see, that's the problem here, and I believe the developers actually have seen this problem really exacerbated in base PSO2. You remember back in base PSO2 where if you have a fully kitted out 15-star weapon, every content that is under ultra hard is going to be a walk in the park. Like SH content is literally just a walk in the park because of your damage that you're able to churn out is just crazy chat amount. It's like, of course, that's why the enemies are just dropping like flies, because because we can just do like 1 million damage in several seconds. Of course they just die because they don't really have that much HP to begin with. Power fantasy is pretty cool and all, but let me ask you then, is it really that good in a game like New Genesis? Okay, let's just give you this scenario then. Imagine that in New Genesis there is no attack limit at all existing. Okay, so the player have this Kaiser weapon and he has the best possible gear that you are able to get in the game with Mastery Force and Eddies, capsules and whatnot. Okay, so this player is going to go to the first veteran boss they encounter back then when they are level 15. And then they pull up their weapon and then they shoot at the boss, and then the boss dies. Because you cause like crazy amount of damage because there's no attack limits at all set for this boss or enemy here. Then and then you kill that boss, and then that's it. Is that fun? Is that good for you? I mean, if it's good for you, then sure, go ahead. But by the way, it's not fun at all if the enemy just literally just die in 1 second. So try to apply this issue then into games like, for example, Devil May Cry. Imagine if you are playing as Devil May Cry as a Dante, if you're playing as Dante in Devil May Cry, and then suddenly, all the monsters, they are pretty menacing looking and pretty dangerous looking, and they're trying to kill you, and then you have a lot of combos that you can execute. But then when you are trying to complete a certain combo, the enemy just die in one hit. So what does Dante do then? Dante will just take out the weakest weapon possible and the lowest possible damage weapon so that he can have more fun while destroying the enemies instead? Yeah, you see, that's the problem with New Genesis. New Genesis is not an MMORPG. It's not like you tap targeting and you just press one button to cast a spell or something. No, this is not that kind of game. If you want to play that kind of game, you can go Final Fantasy. For all I care. But in an action RPG online game like New Genesis, action is what matters. The combat is what matters. When your combat is like literally one slash and the enemy dies, do you really think that is a fun content to play? That's why the devs actually implemented these attack limits in such a way that so that the low level players can still find enjoyment when they are actually grinding these mobs, while the high level players can just, come to these low level mobs and just steal their boss, or just kill all of their monsters and KS that player until the end. Like, imagine if that is possible. Like, imagine if there is a low-level player that is trying to, fight a veteran boss with all their skills and all their capabilities of their class provides to them, and then suddenly the level 60 character would just arrive and then they just one-shot the boss in a second. Wait, bro, why are you doing that for? And then the guy will be like, oh, I do it because I can. Don't really need to thank me for that, okay? And then he just walks away. Do you really think that is a good new player experience? That is not a good experience at all for those new players. So, you know what? Attack limit exists for a reason. And by the way, Kaiser weapons are meant to be very, very good for endgame contents and on the hardest difficulty and the highest difficulty contents like the level 57 bosses and above. Okay, a TLDR version of all this attack limit issue is that imagine a captain. Imagine there is no attack limit and then there is a captain trial. And then while you're waiting for your friends to actually enter your combat zone to, to reach to the captain trial, somebody, there is this one random player who is just immediately trying to kill the captain mob. You shouted at him, you tell him to stop, you try to, move and aggro away the captain into no avail, and he killed the captain mob. And then the rest of your friends are not able to get that captain loot at all, including, most of your friends, except for you. And then all your friends are like blaming you for it because, you are not supposed to allow random players to enter, but yet it happened. So, this kind of issue can happen to anybody. And I believe, especially with how much toxicity was an issue for several players out here in New Genesis, I believe they are definitely going to attempt something as petty like kill stealing or, killing your boss that you wanted to, hunt down instead of like letting you to get the loot instead. And I believe players can definitely, deny loots of other players if they are powerful, more powerful than the other players. So the reason why attack limit existed is so that they can curb all these toxic players from stealing other people's loot, or preventing other players to getting their loot that they deserve to get. Stuff like the Rappy, but the Emperor Rappy. Imagine if the Emperor Rappy just drops in 1 second. Do you think that is a good thing for everybody who is rushing to the Rappy zone? No, of course not. People will not wait for you and they'll just clear the Emperor Rappy and they just run away. And then they will not take accountability for why they don't wait for the other players of the map to actually reach that zone before they kill the Emperor Rappy, so that everybody can get the loot. This is the reason why attack limit exists. If the monsters and the bosses just drop like flies, everybody can just spawn camp, and they can just spawn camp at the boss every 5 seconds, and you can just AFK there for all you want, and people will just get loot from there, despite being AFK there for like purposely AFKing there. That is the problem the devs are trying to curb by setting the attack limit. And I believe it's actually there for a purpose, and it's not exactly a bad thing at all. So this is what I wanted to say about the attack limit, and till next time, sayonara.